Good. What brings you guys here? I was just about to introduce this program on a collector got my attention, and we may have a show coming up on an entirely new collector, well, an old collector, but a new collector that we haven't seen yet. Calvin Castine. So that's look sometime in the future, not today. Calvin Castine at the. How many annual is this, Dale?
This is a shingle mill.
How many annual events is this?
20 years this year.
20 years.
Yeah.
20, okay. It's the 20th annual antique and gas engine and tractor celebration. And we're at the Clinton County Fairgrounds, and we've got a shingle mill, and talking to us is Mr. Dale Bombard.
Thank you. This is a shingle mill here. It's owned by Mr. Babby, Leeward Babby. And in a few seconds, there'll be...
let's go down to the end here where we can probably see a little bit better angle on it.
We'll get the right angle here.
Wish they'd shut that chainsaw off. It's smoking kind of bad.
That belongs to Dave Babby. But yeah, that's the way they... as old as I am, I've never saw a shingle mill working before last year. I often wondered how they operated. But that one there, it shows you how it tips the block one way. The next time it comes back around and shifts the other side out. Then they put it against a big wheel and they square the sides all off, so that when they put them on the roof, they're all even.
It's the job where you got to be paying attention to your fingers, right?
Yes. I'm sure that OSHA wouldn't care for this right here too long. The new rules and regulations, we'd never be able to run that.
Oh.
No. Almost everything back then was very dangerous. It was, that's why a lot of people got hurt.
Well, these guys are doing it the old-fashioned way, but they're really, taking a chance here because
oh, they are. I'm sure that the new way of making shingles is completely different. It's all automated. But originally, this is the way they were all made years ago.
There's no guard in that big blade?
Nope.
Nothing.
There's no guard in the blade. You got the open pulley running with the belt on it. And it's nothing that would have, you could get today to go other than just for demonstrations like this. They have quite a bit of equipment, different things that they use, the Babbies do for demonstrations. Yeah, this is a great, one of the machines that everybody likes to stand around and watch work. It's one of the better demonstrations, really.
As you can see, it does push the bottom, and it pushes the top. Gives you that angle. Imagine they can change that to get slightly different degrees of
thickness.
Yeah.
Yes, that can be changed. But basically, they're set up. They're almost all the shingles are about 7/16 of an inch thick on the thick end to nothing. And this really does quite a job of it right here.
I know when Bob Ben and I did our show with Jimmy Misak up in Morris Forks back in 1994. He talked about the shingle mill and the work he'd done there.
I had heard a lot about Misek's sawmill up there, but personally I had never been to it. But that's, not in business today?
No. Jimmy died in 97.
Okay.
Shortly after Bob Ben did, so he was 84 when we talked to him in 94. So.
Yeah, so he's definitely not in business.
No.
There, they're kind of wrapping this one here up.
David said we're going to be, he's got a demonstration alley here, and the next up will probably be some chainsaws.
Yeah, they're supposed to be running the big 2-man saws over here. And there's one of them been smoking for the last 5 minutes, so it should be warmed up fairly well by now.
It's not doing my asthma much good, let me tell you.
No, that's for sure.
And of course, we can't get into mentioning the Babbies here without mentioning their new museum up there in Peru.
That's for sure.
That's certainly a good asset to the area, isn't it?
Oh, it sure is.
All right, let's follow along.
Now this is how I got started at 12 years old, running a big two-man saw like that. My father used to put me on the small end there, we call it the dumb end, and he could lift me right off my feet when he bear down on it.
You were 12 years old?
Yeah. And they're gear-driven saws compared to today as they're direct drive. These have all kinds of power. You can bear on them all you want. You're really not going to stop the chain on them.
You must have had a lot of confidence in you, but that's a dangerous thing to put a 12-year-old on.
It is, but they did what they had to do back then. Almost all the farmers did the same thing. I was talking to one gentleman here today, said he thought he was around 10 when he first started on the end of a saw like that. It wasn't something today you'd be probably arrested for cruelty or something here.
Probably. You'd have a knock on your door.
That's about it. But people didn't have a lot of money. They used the help that they had. They started kids young. This particular saw here is a mercury-powered saw.
On David's end, he's got all the controls. You know the fellow in the red shirt?
Yeah, the other guy on the other end there, he's just more or less, we call it the dumb end of the saw.
You know his name? David Babby in blue.
Todd Babby.
Todd Babby, that's David's brother?
That's Dave's brother, yes. Yeah, he's on the other end.
And he's also on the board of directors, both of them on the museum
yes, they
board
are.
of
They're
directors.
both on the board of the
Are you on that
museum.
board?
No, I'm not. No.
I know you're involved. You have a tractor there.
Yeah, I go over there and I help them and anytime that I can because they're just nice people to be around and to work around.
Uh-oh, here we come. Dave's coming with a regular chainsaw. You guys kind of lucked out with the weather because we've had, up until yesterday, we had 5 days in a row, 90+ degrees that nobody would have come to this thing.
And then we were supposed to get rain today and everything turned out fairly well. This is a small McCullough saw. It's one of the older ones, but it does a good job. Yeah, after the last 5 days, you wouldn't have wanted to have been doing that right there. Farmers did get a lot of hay in though. Yep. We were supposed to have rain this morning, and so far it's been eluding us, going around us and stuff here. We've been pretty lucky. Here comes another one. It's got smaller logs.
Who's this?
Sam Sorrell. He's the president of this club.
Peru, isn't he? Peru area?
Yeah.
Now, when I see the chainsaws being sold at Dragoon, I also see a lot of protection being sold at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
I guess these guys haven't caught on yet that there's things to protect your body and eyes.
Back then they didn't know. They got all kinds of chaps and all the safety equipment that goes with them. Plus, I think that the dealers now, if they sell a saw to somebody that isn't used to running one, if they have a training, they actually have a training session for them, because they don't want people getting hurt. And these are, it don't matter whether they're new and how much safety equipment you have for them, they're still a dangerous piece to be around.
Well, when that chainsaw kicks, it can get you in a hurry.
Yeah, they're still a dangerous piece to be around. Well, I kind of slowed down. I thought Mr. Babby was going to get another saw, but I see he's visiting in the background there, so we're probably going to be on hold for a while. I think Sam's got some gas in his there now. He might get it going again. Those things are heavy, them old saws. Yes, you are not.
That's when men were men, right?
Yes. And if you weren't, you didn't run them too long.
You became a man in a hurry.
Right.
Or you did something else. I noticed one of the supporters of this, and an ad I saw in the paper, was La Bombard Restoration. Is that you?
That happens to be me, yes.
What do you restore? Other people you restore for them?
Yeah. Farm tractors, equipment that I've worked on over the years, and different things. Try to bring them up to par. Do a lot of welding involved in it, trying to get things right. Some parts you can buy, some parts you can't. You have to make them. But it's just, I retired 13 years ago, so this is just something to keep me active. So I hope it keeps me young.
So if somebody out there has got some piece of equipment they need some help restoring, then give you a call.
There's a lot, and there's quite a bit of it out there, really. I'm not lacking for work, that's for sure. And there's some other talented people around I've found that they'll come to me and want a little bit of help, and if you explain it all to them, they kind of can figure it out for themselves and do most of the work. Yeah. That's a much smaller log than what Dave Babby was sawing on. It's quite an art to get these saws running well. Most of them are 35, 40, 50 years old, and just to get them to run is quite a feat in itself.
Now, are you having trouble with the ethanol and the gas? Is it creating new problems?
I'm told yes, that is a slight problem with it. I haven't noticed it so much myself. Talking to people that deal with this, one is Tedford's Incorporated in Saranac. They sell chainsaws. They said they're running into some problems with them that they have to work around because of the ethanol in them. It might be better for the environment, but it isn't better for some of the equipment, especially the older equipment that was designed to run on a little higher octane fuel.
I guess when you leave it set for a while, that's when the problems really start.
That's what it does. They say mix enough just for what you're going to use. I used to mix gas in a 5-gallon can, now I mix it in a 1-gallon container.
Yeah.
So I can use it up and then mix some more fresh gas. It doesn't last very long. There is quite an array of saws here. There.
The museum you've heard us refer to, and we probably will be referring to many times today, is the brand new Babby Rural and Farm Learning Museum in Peru on the River Road. Leeward Babby, the man behind it. What are we going to see now, Dale?
What they're trying to do, they're getting a few things going right behind us. They got a little small circular saw set up on a garden tractor. This is really the small way of doing it.
That don't look dangerous at all, does it?
Oh, no. That's running at a pretty good pace right there.
Again, hardly any.
Oh, no. Just one little guard that really doesn't protect anybody.
You know,
it's just a very dangerous thing.
I know back home when we used to, when I was a kid and they'd cut firewood or make fence posts, it was always a little scary for me to just waiting for somebody to trip over a piece of wood. And
oh, yeah. Yeah. That was one thing there that I enjoyed when they went to the woods for that, because they wouldn't let me operate it till I was about 16 years old, which never hurt my feelings, really.
Well, You know, I didn't ever felt comfortable watching my father or uncle or brother operating it either.
That was just that was a very dangerous thing.
Yeah. Quite a little thing.
Oh yeah.
And you ever sharpen your fingernails with that thing?
Not yet.
And you hope not to, huh?
Nah. Yeah, she's pretty dull, but she still cuts. But yeah, it's something my brother and I had at the house, so I got the tractor, got the thing I got it running there yesterday.
Okay, and what's your name?
Steve Gettner. I'm from Morrisonville, right up here.
Oh, you had a long haul then here.
Oh yeah, about 4 miles, 5 miles.
You drove that little garden tractor over here probably.
No, I brought him down on the trailer. I got a bunch in his side. I got about 6 or 7 on the other side.
Alrighty, thank you.
Thank you.
This type of engine here is how the club started. The old gas engine people got together and started a club some 20 odd years ago. And from there it evolved, and at this point it's more tractors than it is gas engines.
Well, it kind of got away from gas engines for a while, and you know it's coming back now. I think we have more gas engines here that are working today than what we've had in quite a few years. There's actually a couple other rows that are a lot of small gasoline engines. This is they call a grinder. Grinds up the corn. And you can see as they put it in the top, it comes out the bottom. It's almost like a cornmeal a little bit. Probably you'd call it crack corn.
Now would that be just for feed or that be human consumption?
Feeding chickens, mixing it with feed for livestock, different things like that. None of this looked like it was very easy back in the day. No, it's dirty, it's dusty. It's just very nice to look at. You got a sheller going here now. This particular one, they put the ears of corn in, it actually shells it. See the corn coming out. The cobs go in the top, comes out the bottom, shells it. Then they're able to take the shelled corn, run it through the 2 grinders that we were looking at previously. Got all these small equipment here, but did a lot of small farmers back then, little small operations. That's how they were able to use it.
Looks like Dave's trying to lose a finger there.
But very primitive.
Well, you didn't have a GLF or Agway to go to in a lot of cases.
No, we didn't.
You had to do it yourself.
My son just the other day, I was mentioning GLF. He says, "What is GLF?" He knew it as Agway.
Right.
It was GLF for many years prior to that.
Now, when you're talking shelling, all you're talking about is taking the...
They're taking the kernels off the cob.
Yeah, that's called shelling.
That's called shelling. All the cobs go into here. They can grind that up later for feed for cattle. But basically what they're looking for is the corn itself. And they grind that up, then make feed.
Oh, they could also use it as it is, right, for feed?
Oh, sure they could. Yeah, you can grind a whole cob up and everything. Most of the time they like to get the cob off, or the kernels off the cob. And it's amazing how these old machines continue to work like that.
I'm going to catch you losing a finger.
No, it's just a vibration.
Oh, it got your attention though, didn't it?
No. Sometimes they will get plugged in there if you don't get them out of there. And all these machines are being operated with these gasoline engines today here. which is quite unique. You could put an electric motor on any one of these and get away with it, but it wouldn't be the same. Back then they didn't have electric motors, all they had was this stuff here. And they can kind of tell you got a couple of McCormick gearing motors here at 3 to 5 horse and a smaller 1.5 to 3. They got so many of these gasoline engines, I don't know the names of all of them. Some people are really good at that.
A lot of the early huge tractors were basically big gas engines with wheels on them that you'd keep immobile. You'd just set them up for a job like this here.
That's what they did. Most of those there, they had, John Deere started out with a gasoline engine. They, tractors come out of it, International Harvester. Moline was another one. It's keeping up with the times, I guess is what you'd call it. It's small engines today, like the different dealers, they're dealing with probably almost half of their sales is in garden tractors and lawn equipment compared to big farm equipment, especially up here in the North Country.
Oh, there's just no farmers left to buy stuff.
Yeah, there's so many farmers that's gone out of business, but they have to diversify. Even the dealers, they're getting into selling, chainsaws and things to keep going.
What's that far one that Leeward's at? What's that?
That's a grinder.
That's a grinder.
That's another grinder. There's 2 of them here. Dave is at one, and so is Leeward. And I just grinds the kernels after they get done with the sheller. Then they grind up the kernels of corn and eat.
Losing some to the wind here.
Oh yes. It works quite well, really. And you can grind it. They make another grinder, if I'm not mistaken, that'll make it even finer yet. Like if you want to make cornbread or something like that.
Almost
this is
like
more
flour.
like flour. This is more or less for feeding purposes for the animals.
Now you said off camera that this equipment usually works better on less humid days, right?
It seems to work better on less humid days. As far as the motors run good once they're started, the humidity and the electrical systems on them, the humidity affects them a little bit. Usually once they're running, they're quite, they run pretty good then.
But I think back when I went to work at the Sheridan Company in Champlain in 1966, and how many of the machinists there had missing fingers, and whether it was working on a farm or working in a factory like that there, it wasn't like it is today.
It wasn't easy.
No.
Because I actually went to work to Sheridan in 1966.
You did.
And I worked
into you then.
I worked for about 7 or 8 months, and then I got called into corrections. I had taken the exam, and I got called in. It never hurt my feelings to leave there. I liked the machine work, but it was dangerous.
Which department did you work in?
I was a machinist, operating overhead mill.
The small mills or the big boring mills?
No, it's a smaller one. We were cutting some small gears and stuff at the time. Like I said, I only worked there about 7 months. I really didn't get to know the place at all.
I worked there in '66, and I went on the night shift shortly after that. So I probably bumped into you back then, but didn't remember you.
No, like see, I worked afternoons, but it was for such a short time that you don't get to know people too well unless you're there for a while.
Well, in my job, I used to go around to all the machines and pick up the time cards and move it on to the next. I was in the dispatch office.
Okay.
They loosely called the IBM office.
Yep. That's where everybody, if you didn't do that, they didn't get paid.
So the mills you worked in for Bert Gooley then probably?
Yes, as a matter of fact, and he was Claude Gooley worked there for a lot of years.
Yeah, Claude was a gear cutter.
He was a cousin of mine. He married one of my mom's sister's daughter. But he worked there for a lot of years. I think he had
Married
30.
to LeBaron, right?
Married to LeBaron, yeah. And they had a lot of people made a good living there in Champlain at that time. It was a good-sized company. Somebody tell me that there's more people working at that same plant today than there was back then.
No.
But nowhere near the wages.
No, it's not true. Right now, it's down there. And even when it was high, there wasn't the number of jobs. There were a lot of companies in there when it was filled up. It's not filled up right now. There's a lot of
Small
vacancies.
companies.
A lot of small companies, never near the number of employees that they had.
And,
when it was
and the money definitely was a lot less, even if you were working there.
Yeah. All right, let's get a little closer to that corn cutter.
Yeah, this here actually was the beginning of the corn blowers that we used to know them, filling silo. But the first thing it did, it chopped it up into insulage, and you had to pick it up and either put it into buildings or whatever you did with it at the time. All it did was just cut the corn up. It didn't.
This was before they had the chutes.
Before they had the chutes and the blowers, and
that's not exactly cutting it like you'd see insulage today.
not that you would think. It's much cruder than what it was. When you were cutting insulage, it was cut very small.
Yeah.
This here was
Whoa!
a lot of this stuff was crude equipment back then, really.
Wow, it was the prototypes, the beginning of all this stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I remember, as a kid again, they'd have little work bees. Area farmers would get together, and today they'd be at your farm, tomorrow they'd be at the neighbor's farm, and
A lot of times it was family.
Yep.
I know with us, when my father had like 5 brothers, we were always exchanging work and helping each other out. Because it took a lot of labor back then, and you exchanged times and got everything done.
Yeah. And the corn cutter in the field would bundle it.
We'd just bundle it, drop it on the
up,
ground.
And you'd have maybe 10, 12 stalks together.
Yeah.
You'd come along with your pitchfork, throw that bundle on the wagon, and you'd bring it to the silo. And you'd have a bigger version of this with a chute on it. And then you would chop it there and send it up the chute into the silo.
This here is a very unique setup right here, in the fact that it was so close to the very beginning of that, the way that they cut it. These fellas here, they're stealing the corn off from the stalks because they can use it then for the shelling machine.
Right, no sense in chopping it up and leaving it just sit here on the ground here.
But it's quite an operation just to be have something this old and still have it preserved today.
Yeah,
And 9 times out of 10, this was probably ran by a gasoline engine. It's ran by a little tractor today, but probably when it was designed, it was probably ran by a gasoline engine.
yeah, obviously the era I'm talking about in the 50s.
Oh yeah.
It was tractor that was on that belt. Here they got a bundle about the size you would find back in the 50s when I was looking at it. I guess this guy thinks I got X-ray vision here.
Oh yeah.
So,
As you went along, everything seemed to get a little bit easier.
as you said, they're taking the corn off, and the whole idea of this was to chop that up, and most of this other stuff is just providing some roughage for the cattle, because the stuff that made the milk would be in the corn itself.
They'd be on the cob, yeah.
Yeah. So the farmers would not have stripped the corn off.
I remember years ago they used to wait. They wanted to hurry up and get the corn in before the frost got it. Farmers back then didn't realize that the only value in all of that corn was the cob and the kernels, and they actually put it in a silo before it got ripe. So they were actually putting it in before they actually should have back then. Now they'll wait. That's why you'll see farmers wait. The corn's all brown, frost has hit it.
Yeah.
But the kernels are so ripe that that's where the milk and the protein is. Takes a little bit of power to run it.
Well, depending on how many stocks you're sending through at a time, there's a bunch through there. That tests the drive a little bit.
kind of ends this demonstration.
Now, this used to be considered work, but Leeward's out there having fun.
Now, you say it's fun. Now, by the end of the day, though, I'm sure that Leeward and Dave and the whole family is going to sleep well tonight. They're really going here today to try to keep all these little demonstrations going. Yeah.
We have moved over to the racetrack area, where the demolition derby, the tractor pulls, the harness races are held every year. We've been in the infield of that area. But this here is an antique tractor parade, and the numbers for the parade here are very low today.
Okay, up first here we have Leo Gebner from Morrisonville, New York. I forgot what year his case is. What year is that, Leo? Leo, what year is the case? He can't hear me? What year is it? 1938 case. 38. That's what I said. 38. 1938 case RC. That's very rare. Very rare. Next up, we have Stephen Gebner, his father. And this one's it looks like an RC Alice Chalmers. 1938. Close enough. 1938. And on the back, I think that's a John Deere 1. A John Deere 1. And that is very rare. And on that is Chopper. Next.
Hay mower.
We have a 1951 Farmall H. Very nice shape. 51 Farmall H. Very nice shape.
You guys are going too fast
Right here
there.
we have number 13, Dale LeBombard.
Slow down.
On his Farmall 450 High Crop.
There you go.
Very rare. Beautiful. Nice shape, Dale.
Let's go slow. Dale LeBombard, that's our guy who's giving us our tour today.
Next up, we have a cock shot.
Cock shot.
Cock shot. Cock shot 20. What year? 1952. Very nice shape.
With the mower right attached to it.
Went way down. Sorry, slow down. Take your time. Right here, we
Old
have
buddy
number
Darwin
20.
Turner.
Mary's got the paper. We have a beautiful SC case. Don't know the year of it.
Oh, sun's coming out now.
We have a 1955 Ford owned by Wayne Sorrell from Morrisonville. That's an oldie but goodie, Wayne.
A 2-furrow plow behind.
Right here we have 1956 Farmall H. Champlain. Go ahead nice and slow, Leo. Nice and slow. Take your time. Go slow. Right here we have a beautiful, just redone John Deere M, owned by Mark. Next, right behind him is his dad, a beautiful case D, 1950. Beautiful shape for 1950. And right here, we have an Alice Chalmers C.
Alice Chalmers.
We have a
Case.
beautiful case VI. Now the VIs are very rare. You see a lot of these tractors all painted up, real nice. And this one is owned by Matt Trell. Thank you.
Didn't come
Right
close.
here we have Mr. Santor. He's brought this to the show about every year. It's what you call a Sato tractor, an 8506. And they're very rare around here. We have a nice little Ford 2000. What year is that, hon? A 1963. Wow, very nice. A 1950? A 1950 Ford. Very nice shape. Very nice shape. And right here we have David Babby, who's brought about half of his stuff here. And this is a Super D Thrasher. What year is it, Dave? 67? Wow, very nice. Yeah, it's a Fox, FOX, Super D.
Field chopper with a Aston wagon.
Inside, he's got a Paston wagon. Those are very rare also. You don't see those very often. And right here, we have his son on his bulldozer, a 44. What year is that?
It's a 44.
A 42. Wow.
Oh, 42.
1942.
42, 44.
Okay.
They probably weren't making too many in 1944 with the war on.
Yep.
That was a
What year?
42.
58. 1958 Ford Ferguson. There is a difference between a Ford and a Ferguson. Look at this beautiful 1978 Jeep. Beautiful shape. Very well done.
Jeep pickup.
Very well done. The Jeep is owned by Ken Lucia. And right here we have number 49. It's a D12 McCormick Deering. 012, I'm sorry. 012 McCormick Deering. What year is that? A 1935. Thank you. Very nice. And that's another Babby. This is Mr. Leeward Babby with his diesel, which is very rare. A 1954 diesel, McCormick Farmall MD. There's a lot of them around here. And Mr. Leeward Babby just opened up his museum up on the, what's the name of that road? On the River Road in Peru. Please, go up and see it. Don't miss it. A little Farmall Cub, a McCormick Farmall Cub, owned and operated by Mr. Boyer.
Or Boyer.
Mr. Gary Rivers on his John Deere L. And nobody believes it, but he painted that little tractor with 7 cans of John Deere spray paint. In 1938. He's done a very nice job on that little baby.
I refuse
Very
to
nice.
believe it. More
And
tractors
now,
than I thought there
up
were going to be
next-
in this parade. It's turning out to be a nice little parade here.
Wow. 1955 International 400. Larry Boyer. Mr. Harry Boyer. Harry, P-E-R-R-Y.
Harry
I'll get it
Boyer, I
after
guess.
a while.
Harry Boyer.
Thank you.
This baby
And you don't
just
see
barely
these
touching
steel
the,
wheel little tractors.
barely touching the
This is
ground here.
I
Look
know
at
it's a
that.
Ferguson. What year is that?
This will tear up the highway.
18?
Gertrude, it's a Fordson.
19 or 18? Wow, 1929. Beautiful. Nice shape. You don't see those around. By Douglas Baker.
It's a
Very
steel
nice.
wheel one.
And I know this one is I know it's a Lord,
For sale.
1975 Farmall Cub. Very nice shape. Beautiful. By Mike Boyer, Plattsburgh, New York. And in here we have a Ford. Not quite sure. It's slow down on you might be able to get it. Okay, I can't see the number. Number 23. Number 23 right there. Okay, and this one behind him is a 9N. 1940 Ford 9N. Mr. Douglas Baker.
The other one is dirt frame.
Okay. And here we have something very different and unique. What's the number on the other side?
It's like an armored tractor here. So we're going to the bank to cash your check.
Okay, this is hand built. Very unique. Hold on just a second. Let it tell us what year it is. He started building it in 1962. You built it just for what you needed it for. Around. Started out with a diamond truck frame. Yep, a diamond T truck frame. Very, very unique. Very nice. Thank you for bringing it. Very different.
One of a kind.
Now we... 1950 John Deere MT. Mr. Hamilton, thank you. Very nice, very nice. Yep. Again, we have Mr. David Babby on his New Holland hay cruiser.
Self-propelled hay baler.
This is the baler that brings it up and throws the bale right out. What year is that, David? It's 1964. Very nice. You don't see none of those around here anymore either. All right.
Hardly see any of them.
Hold it up a minute here. Slow down. Slow down. All right. Now, next up, we decided to go ahead. There's so many of them is up and coming. The lawn and garden tractors. This is Mr. Clausen from Champlain. His little Ford wanted to put the board on here, but she didn't start, so he's towing it with the little Cub Cadet. Thank you, Jerry. Jerry Clausen. Next up.
Cub Cadet, pulling the Ford. That's it, telling you something.
With his 1989 Troy belt. Very nice shape. Very nice looking.
Hey, I haven't seen Dan Finette in a long time.
Nice little Troy belt. Take your time going
Former
back,
star
guys. There's
at
no
JC
hurry. Take
Central.
your time. And up next, we have Devin. Devin Fournier with his little Simplicity. A 3410? No, 3416. Very nice, Devin.
That's a Montgomery
Yep,
Ward, I
it's a
believe.
1966, believe it. Devin?
Montgomery Ward tractor. Garden tractor.
Devin's about 1980. Nice, Devin. All right, up
Devin
next,
looks like a 2000
we have Mr.
model.
Fran Bushy on his 1966 Ford 80. Very nice shape. Did you get it like that, or did you fix it up? Very nice, Fran.
I thought you were saying Fran was in nice shape.
Yep. All right, up next, we have a real nice sharp red snapper. You don't see those around very often. Brad Izzo from West Shazy.
Fizzletown.
Nice looking. Pretty sharp.
West Shazy snapper.
And up next, we have Matthew Akey from Shazy on his Massey Ferguson 14. That's 14 horse. 1972. Nice, Matthew.
Akeley family, proud supporters of Hometown Cable. We appreciate their support every year.
This is different. We have a little power craft here. What year is it, hon? What year? What year is it? It's in the 90s anyways. That's a sharp-looking little tractor. Thank you. 18, looks like an 18 horse. Probably had a 46-inch motor deck on it.
Sears, I think, isn't it?
That was Dustin? Carden. Dustin Carden. Thank you. You have a number on the back? Number 14. Yep. This is Chantel on a little Huffy rider from Plattsburgh. What year is it? Probably in the mid-60s. That's a very little one.
Sheraton Special.
1972. This is Mark Akey from Shazy on a Massey Ferguson 7-horse. Boy, those Akeys, they like those little Masseys. Okay, next up, a beautiful, beautiful shape.
It's a Cub.
1970 Cub Cadet. It's a 147 Cub Cadet. Michelle Boyer. And you can tell the Boyers like the Cub Cadets also.
Or the Boyers.
That's very well done. Very, very, very nice.
Posing for pictures.
All right, up next, we have a LT 155 John Deere. I believe that is... Okay. 2000 John Deere. Shane Donahue, driver. Very nice shape. Keep it that way too now.
We don't know this guy.
We don't know. This is the first time we ever seen Ollie Sorrell. Oh, it's Ollie Sorrell, ladies and gentlemen. On his little, it looks like a Power King, but it's not a Power King. This is an economy. There's difference between, I don't know, they got 3-4 different ones, eh, Ollie? Yep, they got Power King, Economy, Jim Dandy, and what's the other one? There's one more. Yeah, was it Jim Dandy? Okay. In 1953 from Jerubusco. And here we have Deanna Kepner. She's in with her husband and her sons, all own tractors. This is a Jacobson 200. What year is it, Deanna? Do you know? Remember? In the mid-70s, probably. The oldie but goodies. The oldie but goodies.
The tractor we're talking about.
Yes. Yep.
Well, that's going to conclude the parade. Turned out to be a nice little parade, about 18 minutes or so worth of
Ladies
parade here.
and gentlemen, that concludes our antique tractor parade.
We have moved back into the infield, and we're going to have a few more demonstrations courtesy of the Babby family. We've found someone new, actually not new, but recycled to chat with us. What's your name, young man?
Fran Bushy, Calvin.
Fran Bushy Calvin. That's a had a hyphenated Bushy Calvin name?
No, that's just
Fran, what the heck are we looking at here? This is I know it's a gas engine with looks like a double-barreled one.
this is I think about a 1909 International, about a 9 horsepower. The cooling system on it that you see where you see the water dripping down is called screen cooled. The water's being circulated through the motor with a small pump, and the hot water comes down on the top of the screen, and it's cooled as it goes down into the tank, and then the cooler water at the bottom of the tank is pumped back into the motor. So it's kind of a primitive radiator type thing.
You wouldn't think that hitting that screen on a warm, sunny day would cool the water.
No, you wouldn't think so. It probably doesn't get quite as cold as it would on a cooler day. But this engine came from, I think, Sullivan Orchards in Peru. It was owned by Fran Sullivan. And initially, I think it pumped water for them for spraying and stuff. They would bring it down to the lake probably or something. This orchard spraying does require a lot of water, so you needed a way to pump it. And right now it's belted up to one of Babby's old thrashers. They're going to thrash some straw and oats through that thing in a little while. And it's almost about the same vintage thrasher as it is engine. It's So it's a nice match.
Yeah, if we saw that thrasher up at the museum, that is really old. That might even go back into the 19th century.
Yeah, it might even be older than the engine that's running it right now.
Looks a little bit like a stagecoach, doesn't it?
It does. It's a stagecoach with all kinds of moving parts inside it, I guess.
Of course, as we've mentioned many times before, the thrasher would come to the farm, and the fellow would be there with his oats and probably half his neighbors, and they'd spend the day thrashing at your place and move the thrasher down to the next farm. And
Right. Not everybody had a thrasher. I mean, if you had one within a 50-mile radius, probably it took care of everybody. One farmer would own it, and he would go around and do custom thrashing for all the other farmers, and they would all usually get together and go farm to farm, because the thrashing had to be kind of done quickly, because your oats and everything were ready, and you had a small window to get to them before they would get rained on and stuff. So during the fall, during thrashing season, those guys had to really scurry to get that done.
And you had to decide whose farm you were going to, because I'm sure that they probably all wanted to do it about the same time.
Right. I don't know if they just went neighbor to neighbor, or if they waited until certain crops were ready. And
I don't know how they decided who was
I know. Maybe they
one on the totem pole.
Maybe they drew straws, Calvin.
Maybe they had a milking contest or something.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure they figured it out.
I've mentioned a few times in the past that as a real youngster, one of my jobs was stooking oats.
And now Dave's going to engage this thing with that clutch and get things spinning.
Gonna get it spinning over there.
So you recall stooking oats?
I was me and my brother Sam would go out and stook oats, and you go out and you look at a 13-acre field or whatever, and nothing but oats out there, and you're 8, 9, whatever.
The other end of
huge.
The other end of the field didn't come till late in the afternoon, did it?
So what you'd do is you'd grab these bundles like they've got over here of oats, and put them in a pile, and that's how they would dry. You get them off the ground, stand them up like a little teepee type of a deal, and
they would shed the rain too if they got rained on, right?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I wasn't smart enough to be paying attention to that. All I know is I had to stoop the oats. Then when the men would come along, they'd come along with their pitchforks and throw it on the wagon like we see over here with this wagon here, and they'd bring them up through the thrasher.
Now the thrasher is designed to take the grain off of grain crops like oats and barley and anything that has a seed pod. It's not used for corn or anything bigger like that.
No, and when you get done, the shaft of the oats or bar or whatever is straw. That's where straw comes from. You take the grain off, and
you had all
the rest is straw.
You had your barn bedding for the year.
Yeah. When did you first get involved with this group? You mentioned off camera Tim Lincourt. Tim's the one that got a hold of Bob Venn and I probably 20 years ago, and a couple of Sartwells from Peru area, and whoops, here we go. Said they were going to have this get together, and
you're right, Calvin. That started 20 years ago. Tim Lincourt, like you mentioned, is the one that approached me on it. He knew that I had a couple old tractors or whatever, and was letting me know that they were considering putting a club together, and they were going to hold a show down at Westport. That was the first available grounds that they could go do it at, and it was only a handful of people, but this is what it's turned into in the last 20 years. It's moved up to Plattsburgh after 10 years in Westport. This fairground became available because you do have to pay a rental fee here and stuff. It's expensive to have the insurance and the rental fee just to come here and do this. Well, that's why we generate money with raffles and gate fees and stuff like that, so we can do this, because it's not free. But over the 20 years that this show has been in place, it's grown steadily.
So it doesn't leave much money for the board of directors to put in their pockets when this is all done, does it?
No. What we do though, sometimes when we have a little extra cash on hand, we donate it to the local charities. And we've made a donation to the Babi Museum out there in Peru early this year. It wasn't a big one, but it was something to help them get started with.
It's certainly a good cause, and certainly something that a group like yours should be encouraging.
Well, we're a non-profit organization, so You know, we don't really want to hang on to.
So you're incorporated in everything then?
Yes, it's incorporated and all the legal stuff is in place.
But you probably couldn't have imagined when you got started that it would evolve into something this big.
No, not really. The first few years, you know, it didn't start as fast the first 4 or 5 years as it did like 8, 9, 10 years down the road when word spread and more local people got involved. I would say that probably 75% of the people here are local people, not that far away, and then they do come from Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Canada as well. But just in this local area, Kelvin, there's a lot of this stuff around, and old farms and old homesteads.
Yeah, it's amazing the stuff that gets pulled out of barns that you think would have been long gone.
Yeah, you know, thank God for those old barns because they've preserved all this stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
kept it out of the weather.
Yeah. Well, it looks like they're getting ready to start to feed this old thrasher or something here.
Got all the belts are moving. Now, a guy from your neighborhood, Clarence Baker, used to be heavily involved, but Clarence has pretty much gotten rid of all this stuff, huh?
Yeah. Well, Clarence, as things got heavier and harder to move, and he does it by himself, you know. As you can see, a lot of these guys that are doing this are young, strapping men.
Like yourself.
So, yeah, you could say.
Much like yourself.
Yeah.
20 years ago.
But it's a lot of work to pull this stuff around and get it out and bring it back home and put it away and all that.
Yeah, and it's all for free, and nobody makes it an expense to be here. Imagine the gas that somebody like the Babby family is going through today.
Yeah. You know, that is all. The gas part of it, Calvin, really is cheap compared to your labor here and your time. That's the biggest investment these people make, I would say. You know, because you're a couple of days bringing stuff in here and getting ready.
Yeah.
For this one day here.
Well, 2 days.
2 days here, right? And then Sunday and Monday you break it all down and take it all back home again.
Yeah. Then the next get together the group has is in the fall with the Harvest Day up at Tony Tremblay,
right?
Marshals.
Right. That's something we started a few years ago. Tony used to have a plow day up there with a John Deere club that he was in that I think was out of Vermont, and we always remembered that he did have plow days there, and then the club thought, you know, that'd be kind of nice for us to go up there and just have a fun day, not a planned event, just go there and plow, and we even do a little bit of corn harvesting and stuff like that with some of the older stuff. But that's really a fun day for everybody because you just go there for the day with whatever you can take in one load and have fun and go home afterward.
Well, it sure looks nice when you see about a dozen of these old antique tractors, one after the other out there with their 1 or 2 furrow plow out there in the field.
Right. Yes, and a lot of times it's done on the roadway on Route 9, and a lot of people traveling stop and watch it. I mean, it's amazing how many cars stop and want to check that out.
Say, whoa!
I haven't seen that in a long time. You know?
I don't know where we were going, but we'll hold off for a few minutes.
Yeah. Well, they got straw coming out of the other end, and they must have some oats going into a bag somewhere as well.
All right, well, let's change our direction here, friend. All right, we can see the oats coming out in the bottom there, and this is the shafts of the straw part.
Yep, on this earlier thrasher, the straw is just kind of being lofted out of the back on those shakers. Everything's kind of just being shaken through that machine. And as the straw is shaken, the oats come off and they go down through a sieve and some screens that the straw won't fit through. And that's how it ends up coming out of the oat chute into the bucket. And you have to manually move the straw away as it accumulates on the end.
You'd have a wagon there and you just...
Right, toss it on a wagon or whatever. Now the other thrasher that they're gonna be feeding here afterwards got a blower on it, and it blows the straw into a big pile, so you don't have to stand there and handle it as often.
When the men got done working several hours of doing this, they were kind of coated with the with residue.
I can imagine. I know at noontime they had a big dinner waiting for them by the local farmer.
Oh, yeah, the
Farmer's wife and
Yeah.
family would feed them well at noontime. They probably washed them all down before they let them in the house too.
Put the garden hose on before they went in.
Now Dave's got the other thrasher here belted up to a diesel case tractor. This thrasher came from Cumberland Head. Belonged to Romeo Trudeau, and I think you know a little bit about this one, don't you?
I don't know much about the thrasher. I do know a little bit about Romeo Trudeau. He's my uncle. My mother was a Trudeau, and Romeo, of course, he was one of the long living ones up there in Cumberland Head. When he started farming there weren't a heck of a lot of people living on Cumberland Head.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah, and this thrasher with rubber tires on it is kind of the last of the line right here. The thing that put these guys out of business are the combines that actually worked right out in the field and did the work. You didn't have to bring the grain to the machine went to the grain.
much like same with corn. You didn't need to.
Right.
You still need to bring it to your silo, but it was chopped when it got there. You didn't have to chop it when you got to the.
Field choppers took over, and mechanized farming really took off after that.
Yep, I remember that happening in I'd say early '60s at our farm. Now all of a sudden you had that nice little chopped corn to throw in there. A lot easier than shoveling it in with your pitchfork.
Yeah. I know one of his grandsons, Kent Lapierre, was telling me a little bit about this machine, and his grandfather always used to boast about how nice a job it did on the oats, how clean they came out as compared to some other machines. He took pride in his work, and he did good work with it.
And anybody who wants to look up thrasher on the internet or anywhere in an encyclopedia, better spell it with an E, because it's not thrash like rhyming with trash. It's T-R-E. S-H-E-R.
Well, it looks like they finished up with the real old one, and they're probably going to start up the newer one here now.
It's amazing how people like yourself and Leeward and his sons and others can be able to bombard and take an old piece of equipment like that and put it together and make it work.
Yeah. You know what really helps too, Calvin, is these things are simple machines. You can look at it and see the technology, so...
No computers?
No, nothing to plug a computer into. It's all eye hand. Now this one right here requires more horsepower too, and you can feed more straw through it.
And of course the belt is twisted coming off the tractor. That determines which way the pulley is going to go.
Right. Sometimes they put a twist in it too to keep the belt from slapping, but sometimes they have to get the direction right as well. We might be blasted with straw here once this starts.
Well, I'm ready to back up if you are. I can only take so much of this with my asthma, so otherwise I'll be spending the night at a CBPH.
Well, I think we're upwind enough right here, Calvin. This looks pretty good. Now you got David up on the wagon. That's just what they had to do, is hand load the thrasher with those stoops, and fork at a time. He's probably got one of the nicer jobs up there. Now you see the finished oats coming into the blue barrel. A lot of times there'd be a bag right there, and they would be going into a bag and they'd tie them off.
You don't have to have a blue barrel, right?
No, you don't need a blue barrel.
Yeah, they'd bag that up.
Yeah. You can see
I would be manning that bag and ready to grab another one.
Yeah. Now you can see the amount of oats coming off of that, out of that feeder. It seems to be a steady stream. It's not really throwing those bundles in there all that fast, but that crop of oats is probably yielding pretty well right there, I'd say. That was a good crop.
Yeah. And of course, up at the museum, Leeward's got some acreage that he's planting these crops, so they got something to demonstrate without oats to throw in here right now.
Right. These were grown in 2009 and stored in the barn for this year.
This is where your Cheerios starts out, right here.
That's right. Well, it starts out growing in the ground, but this is part of the process.
I don't know what the minor farm is doing, but they're growing some oats in back of me right now. They rent from us, and they got some oats in the field behind my house.
I know there's not many farmers that do grow oats. I know Lawrence Dio's son still do, but they like it for the straw part of it, for the bedding in the barn. But then you got the oats too to serve as feed, so dual purpose crop. You can see all the working belts on this side, and to look at it you would think that there'd be a lot of upkeep to keep all that stuff working, but these machines are well built and they can run hours and hours, days and days before they'd really require a lot of repair.
And like you said, they're basically simple machines like you learned in elementary school. That, you know,
Right.
pulleys and wheels and couplings and all this stuff. That's the principle they're all built on.
Right. You can see that this machine too basically is just shaking that straw all the way through it. You're just shaking those oats off and separating them and then letting the straw blow out the end. There's probably every simple machine in there. I think there's like 5.
I can't remember.
The inclined plane and the wheel and axle and the lever. I'm just trying to think back here too, but
You're closer to your school days than I am, so. We'll need a 5th grader here doing it.
yes. We'll have to play Are You Smarter Than a 5th Grader? We'd probably both fail, I think.
I think so. I don't usually do too good.
But I don't know if you can get a 5th grader to stop texting long enough to do this.
Probably not. Well, I think if you brought them out here and let them see this stuff, they would find it interesting.
I think this would be a big eye-opener for a lot of young kids today that you know, farms are so sparse now, and all the work that they do is so mechanized that very little handwork for kids to do on a farm today. I know when I was in high school, you could always have a job on a farm somewhere. They always needed labor help.
Somebody needed help growing bales.
Yeah, you didn't get a lot of pay, but you worked hard and well fed. And you learned a lot too.
I want to point out I am risking my health here, standing next to that pile of straw to do this next shot here, friend. Tell us a little bit about what's going to happen.
Well, this next machine you see here is an early hay press. Not really an early one, but it's a hay press. This is what they baled hay with before they had mobile field balers. They would bring their hay into the barn loose, into the hay mow, and then through the winter time they would set this hay press up and make hay bales with it when they didn't have field work to do during the winter. Basically what they're going to do here is a large platform you see standing right there is a loading platform. They'll throw loose hay into that plunger you see going up and down, and as you load it manually through there and the bale becomes larger, it's got spacing blocks that separate each bale. They go through with the bale and they've got little holes in them that allow you to pass the wire that ties the hay together through it. You have to manually tie these bales with a man on each side of that bale chute as the hay's coming through it. But really it takes one guy to load it, 2 guys to run or to feed the wires through. So once he gets going, we'll better idea.
And once again, it's a dangerous operation. The man standing up next to that big arm that's going up and down, he's got to be paying attention to where he steps.
Yes, but I think that they don't stand on that platform. I think they throw the hay across it. So they're back far enough, but they do have to watch. I mean, it's obvious to see back in those days that they weren't real worried about the safety of the men with all the open mechanisms and belts and everything else. They were just glad to get the work done, I guess.
Whether they were building railroads or the canal or working on the farm.
Yeah. Now we're getting our modern round bale unwrapped to simulate a hay mow here, Galvin. You have to throw in a little bit of the modern stuff with it.
Well, yeah, we got to get the hay here. So
exactly.
what better way than with a nice big round bale? So what size of bale we'll be looking at? We'll be looking at a 100-pound bale or a 500-pound bale?
No,
or
I
something
think
people can handle.
I think they're between 80 and 100 pounds. Something men can handle. Right.
Because I do know they had these big hay presses out in the fields that would come up with
Oh yeah,
bales.
those huge blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you need a tractor with a loader and the right kind of fork on it to handle those things. But this will be a typical hay bale that comes out the other end.
Somebody's got that darn a wire string and
yeah, you got to feed the wires.
Wearing gloves.
Yeah.
We'd get some hay out of Canada and they'd have wire instead of string on them, and those are a little tough on your fingers when you go to lift a. Even if it's only 80 pounds.
Like lifting up piano wire.
Yeah. So
yeah, basically the wires on those are really thin wires, and they're already pre-knotted, so that they just have to simply pass them through the baler to connect the two ends. And I think you got to be kind of quick on the draw with it too, because you only got seconds, I think, to do your part of it before it moves on. There's a little bell on there too that tells them when they need to load another block in place to separate the bales. And I'm not sure if it trips manually or if one of the wire tie guys has to ring it to let the guy on the loader platform know he has to trip that block lever.
You're telling me that off camera that this is the first time that the Babby family has attempted this?
Yes.
So they'll be learning as they do it?
Everybody's going to be learning here. Now the hay press belonged to Donald Boyer and Shazy, and his son's Mike, wanted to get it out of the barn and get these guys to work on it. I mean, Dave and his sons are more than willing to take old stuff like this and operate it and get it going. Now, Arthur is Donald's brother. He was telling me earlier that he was 13 years old the last time they used this, and he's 70 now. So that's about 7 years since there's been any hay.
That's about the year that Maxine Breedenberg was born. 52. Oh, she's even older than I. Yeah, I saw Arthur in the parade of tractors, and I don't see him here right now, but he can't be too far away.
No, he's right behind you, Calvin.
Oh, well, watch what I'm saying then. Looks like Arthur is going to be the one to do the honors, huh?
I think so. I think he was the last man to load it 57 years ago. He's going to be the next guy again.
Well, what he did was he found the same pair of pants he was wearing, and see how much he's grown since then?
Yeah.
Weren't too many farmers wearing shorts out in the work day.
No. I think that's probably the right RPM for that thing to operate at, too. They seem to want to go kind of slow with it. I don't think it's any kind of a high-speed machine.
Slow and deliberate.
I think Arthur was telling us earlier that this is a 2.5 bale machine. That means there's 2.5 bales in it while it's making hay.
When you're done for the day, you got to get that done for the season, you got to get that last hay out of there.
I think so. I think they must just take the thing apart probably and pull the hay out of it. I don't think you want to leave hay in it year to year, probably.
I don't know. I don't know if it'd heat up or what the heck would happen if it's cold compressed in there. I don't know.
Yeah. They had a little trouble keeping the belt on, but I think they got it taken care of now. I think Arthur's going to throw in the inaugural load.
Well, David's going up. David Babby's going up. Arthur's going to give it to him.
Yeah. I think Arthur wants a safe position there.
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
No, I don't blame him either. You better not shovel too much. A lot of guys his age get in trouble shoveling snow in the wintertime. That upper body workout.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who's tying the bales?
Go ahead. You know how to do it.
You know how to do it?
I used to do the spring one.
Well, you better. They might need you.
Every once in a while, the knotter would mess up, and we'd have to sit on the damn seat in the back. Tie up a bale before it came out.
I know these pre-tied wires.
But we used to have the big long bales. I mean, these little teeny bales they sell now with the kickers are, ours were 3 times the size of them.
You can see the danger here with David Babby standing up there next to that. One misstep, and he could be in serious trouble.
We've had some bales that go like 175 pounds bale of hay.
The owner of this one said they used to make 220-pound straw bales with it.
Yeah, we used to go up to Canada, buy our straw up there, a lot of it, and they were like 225, 250, 275, but they're big bales of straw.
So once again, this is not the way they did it. They didn't bring in a round bale, take it apart, and make a square bale. They would come in loose, and this is how they would press these bales. It looks like the first one is coming out here, and somebody's going to have to tie that.
I don't like the round bales. I like the square bales.
The tractor powering this is one of the Boyer family tractors, right, friend?
Yes, that's Arthur's son Perry's tractor. I think it's a Farmall 400, probably from the 50s, maybe. It's probably a lot more power than the hay press requires, but it's the same family hay press and tractor combined. So
once again, it's been 57 years since the man with the straw hat, Arthur Boyer, as a 13-year-old. That's the last time his family used this. It's been sitting in a family barn all this time, and they are finally putting it back out to use. Do you know if they did much work? It had to be a little bit of the stuff that was frozen up.
I remember, no, I don't think they had to do anything. It was well preserved inside the barn, and I'm sure while Donald was alive, he kept it oiled up where it needed to be, all those moving parts. And all Dave had to do basically was clean it up and re-oil everything and check everything to make sure it was tight enough. But I know that this hay press wasn't used a lot. It was bought just before the field balers became popular, and you could actually bale in the field instead of in the barn. So this thing got pretty much replaced by the modern baler.
It's kind of like me buying an 8-track instead of a cassette, right? Cassette recorder?
Right. You've got all your old 8-tracks still, but
This was probably a little more expensive than an 8-track player, though.
yeah. And it's on iron wheels too, so that tells you it's probably built in the 30s or 40s. It looks like they've got enough hay in there to almost tie a bale off. A lot of hay has gone through it so far, and we haven't seen a bale come off of it yet, so it's backing it up pretty good, it looks like.
It's going to be a nice heavy one. And this is dry hay.
Kelvin, they might need you to pull that out of there.
It might need
somebody
somebody
that's
at least
done a few.
At least as powerful as I am, yeah.
Now I see they got the blocks ready up on top that separate each bale. As you stop making one bale, you put that block in to separate the next one. And it's got little slots in it that allow you to pass the wire through to tie the bale off while it's still in that bale chamber.
Well, this is something I am fairly sure that a lot of people who are even older than I am have never seen, because I know I've never seen this particular operation.
You didn't. So when you were farming, Calvin, then you were using field balers.
Well, as a real young kid, I remember when they'd bring in the loose hay.
Okay, they just threw a block in, and the plunger pushes the block down in once you load it. And now they're going to pass the wires through to tie it. He's loading the next block to go in. I hope Arthur remembers how it works.
We're about to find out. But with the loose hay, it would come in and you use these big hay forks to grab it and pull it off the wagon. You move your wagon into the mow, into the open part of the mow, and the hay fork would come down, grab a load of that loose hay, pull it up to the top, and run along there, being pulled by a pulley. And my job as a young kid was to sit outside the barn, and there'd be a man on a horse inside. When they got the hay to where they wanted to drop it, they'd say, "Whoa," and I would relay that message to the guy on the horse. So when you're a 4-year-old sitting out there all afternoon saying, "Whoa," it's a boring afternoon. That was
And that had to be well coordinated, I'm sure, too, huh?
Oh, you wanted-
Get the hay to drop where you wanted it and everything else.
well, the guy on the horse would know roughly where, knew where he went the last time. And
Yeah. Now, Calvin, I'm a little bit worried. That thing just ate that whole round bale and nothing's come out the end yet. What do you think?
I think I don't want to tug on that bale. It's going to be tied up pretty soon.
I think maybe they better put some of that straw in behind the hay, maybe. Now, just to get an idea how well that works, remember the size of the round bale they pulled up there. That was kind of lightly packed as compared to that bale that's in the bale chamber now. How they condensed it down. I would say it's, well, 1/4 the size.
I know I'll be wrong, but I'm thinking that a round bale is the equivalent of about 12 regular bales, which might run 50, 60 pounds this day and age. So you've got 800 to 1,000 pounds probably in that round bale. Well, they compacted that into this. This is going to be one heavy little.
Unless maybe there's 2 bales in there.
Well, you can make different size. I think you can make 600-pound round bales. So it depends on the size of the bale that they brought in. So there's got to be a couple bales there. Obviously, they're not putting all that into one bale. It's going to be pretty well packed.
Yeah.
Well, Arthur's at least making believe he knows what he's doing there.
Yeah. I think you have to. He's opening up the end of the bale chute to let that bale out. It was holding it in there. Now they want to release it and let it out. Maybe they need to do that just to get the first bale.
It'll come shooting out like a cannon.
I'm not sure if that's got a trip bale or a bale kicker on it, Calvin. Probably not.
I don't think so.
I think those 2 small blocks he just took out are what you initially have to start with, maybe, until you get hay in the.
That's how you can square it up.
Yeah. Well, here comes round bale number 2.
Looks like Arthur's ready to get serious about this. Looks like he's inserting the wires now, Fran.
Yeah, he's getting wires in place. I think each bale takes 3 wires. And there's 3 slots in that bale chamber. It's probably where they feed each wire. I think he's going to be looking for somebody on the other side, though, to take it, pass it through to. One thing about this operation, Calvin, it's a lot quieter than the thrashers are. They don't have all that dust flying.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was going to say. It doesn't make as much dust.
Nice dry, loose hay out of the mow. This probably wasn't a bad job to do in the middle of the winter when it was freezing outside. Gave these men something to do to generate a little heat.
It kept you warm.
Break up their day. Now you just push the block down in. That's the hay loader's job, to do that part of it, apparently. And loading the next one in. I think those blocks were original with that baler too. There's like a dozen of them or so that they had still with it. If you look at that plunger going up and down, that triangular section on it is what grabs that block and drives it down in on the top. That looks like some kind of a hungry dragon just eating hay right there.
looks like the next one is going to be the one that's they're going to succeed with.
I think so. It looks like the first bale's ready to come out the chute.
They, again, haven't done this in 57 years. I have trouble remembering something I did last week, so...
Yeah, and it looks like there's a few operations you need to be
yeah.
on the ball with here to get this to work successfully. I think what he's doing at the end, he's adjusting the tension that's on the end of that bale chute to let that bale pass through. Looks like he's back opening it up to let the bale out.
We may be hitting pay dirt pretty soon here, Fran. Nice and square, isn't it?
Yes, it looks like we got a tied bale ready to come out of there after a
This
while.
end is, well, the other end is tied when it's done.
They're pulling the wire through now, and Donald's tying them off. Arthur's connecting the ends up.
Donald's upstairs watching.
Donald's watching, right.
Along with Louie and Oral and all
The
other
rest of the
guys.
family's up there. And exactly. That's a pretty neatly pressed, tight-looking bale coming out of there. Maybe they need 3 wires on them because they're making such a large bale.
Also spreads out if it's real tight like that, the tension is kind of spread it out a little bit more than just 2.
Right here.
There's our first
There it is.
bale.
Arthur just pushed it off. About 20 minutes to 3 here, or yeah, 20 minutes to 3. July 10th, 2010. And the first one was the most difficult one. The rest are going to be a lot easier. So I'm going to wrap up Hometown Cable's coverage here at this 20th annual. Is it the 20th annual or the 20th anniversary?
This is the 20th anniversary
So it's probably the
annual
21st.
show. This is the 20th show,
Oh,
Calvin.
okay, so it's only the 19th anniversary then. Because the first one is the first one,
right.
and you have the second one, it's the
Right.
first anniversary. So.
Right, it's the 20th show.
Okay. So we're going to wrap it up here. Our thanks earlier to Dale LeBombard, and at the end, Fran Bushy for making sure that we had an idea what was going on out there, because otherwise I'd be totally lost. And a big thank you to the Ware family and to the Bobby family for helping to put on this demonstration today. Any final words, Fran?
No, Calvin, just thanks for coming, and with this being on TV, it'll let a lot of other people see what's going on here, and let them know too that they can see a lot of this go on at the Bobby Museum in Peru.
Right there in the River
continue
Road.
through.
Yeah, that'll be open pretty much. I don't know if they're going to be open all year round or they'll be open all summer long. And
I know that they have a lot of events planned for the fall, especially during harvest season, so there'll be a lot to see out there.
all right. We're going to wrap it up here from the Clinton County Fairgrounds, July 10th, 2010.